Guys, welcome back to this video. I know it's been forever since I've done a Bitcoin and crypto state of the union or just a large market update. And that's what I want to do in this video is talk about what's happened so far over the last over a year and what I'm looking forward to over the next few weeks and months. I think we've got some really big moves ahead of us. And so that's the reason for the video. I've been really busy with our wealth building community, but wanted to put something out here for everybody. If you're new here, I'm Chris Dunn. I'm the world's first Bitcoin trading and investing educator. Got in full time in 2013, wrote my Bitcoin trading book in 2015. And yeah, can't believe I've been doing this for over a decade, but this is where we are. So let's go ahead and jump into the charts. So taking a look at Bitcoin, I want to give you guys a little bit of history of what's happened so far over the past year. Actually, since January of 2023, this is actually where the bull market started, was right here in mid-January of last year when we got above all three moving averages, the 50 period, 100 period, and 200 period moving average. And then we had a really great buying opportunity on the banking crisis. And I've just been net long the entire run up. And that's not something that I've always done in prior market cycles. I've usually liked to short and hedge and try to make money as price goes down. But I've just had a lot of conviction in this bull market. And so I've been very heavy long the whole way, and it's paid great dividends. But let's jump out to a much larger picture and talk about what happened so far. So we had something that was unprecedented that happened over the past year, which is Bitcoin had 7 green monthly candles in a row. And so I was calling for a pullback in the month of April, which we got, but you can see that 60K is the big line in the sand. This is where a lot of resistance came in the last market cycle in 2021 and really just 2021. And then here in 2024, you can see in February, we actually came up to this area as resistance and then quickly turned it into support. And any dips below 60K have been quickly bought up. And if you go down to a weekly chart, you can see that that's the case. And if we run a fib retracement from that last pivot low, you can see that almost came to the 50% retracement zone. And bulls have really been defending that 60K zone. And then going down even deeper, or a more zoomed in view on the daily chart, I want to jump over to my notes here. This is where we've actually had an inverse head and shoulders. Let me show you on this clean chart. So we had an inverse head and shoulders here at the 100 period moving average. This was that 60K support zone. And it looked like we were going to break down and then snap back up above. And what's happened so far is we've actually had 20-ish% pullbacks during this bull market. You can see there was one back here in February of 2023. Then we had another one here in the summer. And then we had another one here going into later 2023. And then during the Bitcoin ETF approval, or right after that, a little over 20%. And then you can see the final one was here in April of this year. So that's what we're seeing is just, again, bulls are controlling this thing all the way up. Anybody that's been shorting on the way up has gotten absolutely clobbered. And most recently, I actually added to my long position on the midway break here. So you can see the inverse head and shoulders. And then as we snapped above like 67K, we came back up to retest the prior all-time high, which this is the fourth test of this resistance area around 72K. And you can see as of today, we're actually holding up above this. So we've still got the moving averages that are quite a ways down, but you can see you've got the 100 and the 50 that are here as support, and the 200, which has been lagging really most of the way since October of last year. Now, let's talk about also what's happening in alts. One thing that I was telling you guys late last year was that for altcoins to really show confirmed strength and to really be in what we call like a traditional altcoin season, we needed to break up above this resistance level around 440 billion on the total non-Bitcoin and non-Ethereum market cap. And you can see right here, this is where we got confirmation. So we've been in a technical bull market for altcoins since December of 2023. Now, how have I been playing this? This is definitely not a shotgun approach where I've just been buying a ton of stuff. I've kept my positions very few and far between. So I'm only holding a handful of coins at any one given time. And the reason for that is if you look back at the data over the past 12 months and over the past 30 days, which are typically good time frame barometers, over 80% of alts are underperforming Bitcoin. And that's not what we saw in the last bull market from 2021, but this has been primarily dominated by just a few key sectors like Bitcoin and other large caps like Solana. And then we've most recently had this like meme coin craze, and there was some action in ordinals. But again, the mass majority of alts that were around in prior market cycles have actually been underperforming Bitcoin. So with that said, I've been just very, very selective on what I've been trading. You know, one of my better trades this year so far has been Solana. So we bought the accumulation range breakout here in the mid 50s, took profit along the way, still holding a runner. And I've had just a handful of recent plays, one of them being Jasmy. So this had a great breakout over the past week. And actually, let me pull up the Binance chart where you can just see my notes. So anytime I get in, I am basically planning what my risk is, what my upside potential reward is. So this thing is working towards my profit targets. We'll see if it actually hits them. But the main goal for me this cycle has been less trades, bigger sizes, and longer hold times. You know, there's a misconception in trading that, you know, makes people feel like if they take more trades and they do more, that they're going to make more, but that's not usually the case. Usually if you can just get in high quality positions, let the trends work in your favor and not get in your own way, that's where those larger percentage gains are going to come in over time. And that's what I've been looking for. And so just taking a look at Bitcoin again, and what I'm expecting here is if we can hold up above the 60K zone that has been defending since March, I think the odds of an all-time high breakout, the tighter that price squeezes, is greater and greater. And just talking about some upside profit targets, I know people are always like, Chris, what's your target? Well, what I don't do is I don't try to just hold positions for longer term targets. I'll trade in and out. So I'll take profit, I'll buy dips. But whenever I'm looking at my cycle trades, so I have a capital bucket where I basically buy in bear markets and then I sell into euphoria. One thing that I'm looking at is a measured move of this prior range. So you can see on the low side around 15K, on the high side up here around 70K. If you do a 1-to-1 measured move of this range, this can be kind of a nice, just round area to measure based on market cycles. The other thing I like to use is fib extension. So if we look at where this pivot low was, this was actually the COVID panic down into the 4K range that we were buying. To that pivot high minus that retracement, you can see there's also confluence, meaning the 1618 fib extension lines up here at 120. So this is kind of, if we break this all-time high, I think we're going to see the bull trend start to accelerate again. And I think 120 is the next kind of major zone that I've had my eye on for the last like 6 months or so. But again, there's no guarantees that that has to happen. I think a lot still depends on what happens in the stock market. So there's still been a lot of correlation between stocks and Bitcoin. And stocks have actually led the way here, where they've actually broken out to a new all-time high since the pivot high back here in December of last year. So stocks, again, are kind of leading the way. And one chart that you can look at that I think is pretty interesting is comparing let me get back to my crypto list, comparing the Bitcoin price to the NASDAQ. And what we really like to see is when Bitcoin has alpha over stocks. And you can see we broke out above stocks here in November. But really, so far since March, Bitcoin has been pulling back and showing relative weakness to stocks. But it looks like this is just a bull flag in an overall upside trend, at least so far. So we'll see. I think, you know, after having over a month of a pause here, a pullback, and then kind of an inside range month for May, now that we're into this June candle, I think bulls are attempting another run at an all-time high. And again, we've had 4 tags of the all-time high. And if we hold above that 60, the more times we touch it, the more likely it becomes that it's eventually going to break. And so will it be June? Will it be July? I don't have a crystal ball, but all I know is I am net long and I've added and I'm still holding. So we'll see if things continue from here or if they start to deteriorate. But again, one thing that I look for is in the midst of all these opinions and, you know, regulatory action and, you know, the Biden crew and Elizabeth Warren building their anti-crypto army. And then now Trump saying he's pro-crypto, right? It's becoming a partisan issue in the States. And there's a lot of noise. Anytime you get overwhelmed and you're like, I don't know what to think about all this crap that's happening, zoom out, simplify, look at the chart. And more times than not, the truth is in the price action. Because what is price action? It's just a visual representation of the actions that everybody are taking. And if you look at that, you can eliminate a lot of the opinions and the fluff and the noise and really zoom in on momentum or weakness or key areas, and you can get a read on what price action is doing. So again, when we look at price right now, we're seeing bulls making another attempt at a run. The longer that this consolidates, the tighter this squeezes, typically the bigger the moves are. And I'll give you a comparison. And again, the past performance doesn't predict future performance. And the reason why that disclaimer exists is because it's true. You can't look at just old price patterns and expect the same thing to happen in the future. But one thing I'll point out is a similarity. If we look at this price pattern here, let me just take a picture of this and then we'll add this as a tab. And then if we go back, I'll take you guys back in time to the 2016 and 2017 market cycle. There were a couple of price areas in here that were very interesting. And imagine, let's actually just do market replay. Take a look at this chart as if it were live at the 3K resistance. So we were trading this bull trend all the way up, had a good dip buy, had a good breakout buy. But again, if we compare this to what's happening now, look at this price pattern and then look at this. Very similar idea, right? Where it came up, ran, trapped, had a fake out breakout, had a deeper pullback with a lower pivot low that stopped out a lot of longs, but also got a bounce around that 100-period moving average, and then had that continuation, right? So inverse head and shoulders, you could also call it like a longer term cup and handle potential, but that's really what I'm seeing. And most of the time in the markets, we're usually closer to like a 50-50 area or seeing choppiness, but there's a few times in the market where I'm like, hey, I kind of get what's happening here. So barring any kind of, craziness in the stock market, I'm still a Bitcoin bull. And that's really it. So guys, if you want to join our wealth building community, I'll link that below. Like this up if you enjoyed it and you want to see more videos like this. Make sure you're subbed to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.